Hey, Guoba here with the banner review. The 1.1 live stream just revealed Silverwolf and Luocha's banners as well as their light cone. Now the stream itself didn't reveal the light cones, but the website for the 1.1 preview did. So we're going to be talking about Silverwolf and Luocha's value as a pool themselves, as well as their 4 stars on the banners. Now already supports are an amazing pickup if you have DPS already. Sealer and Jing Yuan are great DPS, so if you pulled one of them, then getting supports can be very valuable for your account. On top of that, Silverwolf will boost your DPS much more than a second DPS would, and Luocha will provide healing unlike anyone else. If you don't have Bailu, Luocha's value is great, but if you have Bailu, he can still be a great pickup because they do different things, and they can synergize with different units. Remember that Memory of Chaos will give you about 4 pulls, 8 pulls every month, I believe, so using 75 pools to make that easier isn't that worth. But if you like the character, want the character, and like their kit, or just pull because, you have a gacha addiction. So we'll start with Silverwolf. So Silverwolf will implant weakness on an enemy. Now this is a one-of-a-kind debuff and is insanely strong. You can bring your DPS to a boss that doesn't have their weakness and potentially implant the ally's weakness to this boss. So element weakness implant can actually enable a new type of teams called mono teams. Mono teams can be actually pretty strong with stuff like Asta's Trace passive, Pella's E4, the Planetary Rendezvous Light Cone. It has a lot of potential and Silverwolf can enable them, meaning you could have a solid 3 units and bring them to all content with Silverwolf. Now it's 3 out of 4 chance because her own element counts in the weakness implant. So unless they have quantum weakness already, it'll be a 3 out of 4 chance, which is still pretty high. Anyway, mono teams can be incredible and will probably become very strong in the future if you get Silverwolf. So if you want a whole new type of team archetypes, definitely pull for Silverwolf. I don't think anyone else will have a weakness type implant, at least for a long time. A skill will also reduce resistance of the enemy, which again is incredible. Resistance is an extra multiplier on top of all of your damage, so reducing that resistance makes all of your damage do a lot more. Her ultimate will reduce the defense percent of a single target. Again, another great buff for your team's damage. It's kind of like Pella, but single target, so Silverwolf will make you destroy bosses. Pella's ultimate will be stronger versus multiple enemies, but hard content is based around bosses anyway, so Silverwolf will be an incredible buff to your team. On top of weakness implant, resistance reduction, and death percent reduction, she can do 3 bugs, which reduce attack percent, defense percent again, and speed percent. Slows are great in this game. Attack percent means you can push harder stages easier, and defense percent can stack with your ultimate, meaning the enemy probably won't have any defense by the time you're done with them. Her technique is great for first waves of enemies too, since she will ignore weakness of all enemies and deal toughness damage. Techniques so far do 60 toughness damage, and I think that will be the same for Silverwolf, meaning basic enemies will have their toughness broken immediately, regardless if they have quantum weakness or not, by Silverwolf. Entanglement is an OP break effect, and the damage can stack really high, meaning you shouldn't really have any problems with the first waves. So if you need an offensive support, they are better usually than a second harmony because of the way the damage formula works. They will boost your damage multiplicatively, so your boosted damage from harmony units will get boosted way further. Supports, again, are a great pickup when you already have solid DPS, and everyone should have solid DPS by now, and you get free ones anyway. On top of that, the 4 stars on her banner have 2 great DPS already, so her banner is pretty solid. Definitely a must pick up if you like her. Even if you don't like her and you care about meta value, she's probably a must pull. Just know that she has some effect hit rate problems and may have some energy problems, but we'll see that on live. Now a lot of people are saying her 4 stars are bad and they did her dirty, and that is not true. Now all of the units on her banner are free, but their Eidolons are amazing, specifically Eidolons for Danheng and Asta, and the late Eidolons for Servo. Now Danheng is already an amazing single target DPS, and if you don't pick up Sealer, he can be a great carry for your teams. As for his Eidolon Breakpoints, his E1 is amazing, and combined with Stellar C gives him a permanent 28% crit rate buff that can go to 32%. His E2 reduces his talent cooldown by 1 turn, meaning he has double the opportunities for resistance penetration. Resistance penetration is one of the strongest things in the game, and combined with the resistance reduction of Silverwolf means Danheng will be hitting like crazy. His E4 and E6 are nice buffs, but his first 2 Eidolons are amazing pickups, so getting a few dupes of him is not really a problem. We then have Asta, who's a great harmony support, E1 will improve her breakness capacity, which is already strongest in the game for fire. And her E2 will make her much less skill point intensive. Her E4 and E6 give her even more quality of life, letting her cycle faster and be even less skill point intensive. Asta's Eidolons are just as amazing as Dan Heng's. Now, Serval's early Eidolons are not as worth as Asta's and Dan Heng's, but her E4 and E6 boost her damage output by a ton. Her E4 will give her the chance to shock enemies on her ultimate as well as her skill now, meaning enemies should be shocked at all times, which has a lot of base damage. On top of that, her E6 will make her do 30% more damage to shocked enemies, which should be all the time now. The 30% buff to all of her kit is disgusting, and her E6 and E4 are great pickups. You shouldn't pull just for 4 stars alone, but I'm just saying that the 4-star Eidolons are great to have. Her banner is really nice. It's not a Jing Yuan banner, but it's not bad. The next 5-star we have is Luocha. Now, if you don't have Bilo again, could be a very nice pickup to push Memory of Chaos. 75 pulls for the chance at 8 more pulls. You know, it's up to you to see if it's worth it. We'll eventually get more healers in the future, and probably some 4-star ones. Now, the way he works is he has a healing field. So the way you get this healing field is by using his skill and ultimate or his technique. This field will allow allies to heal themselves whenever they hit. What will happen is when an ally hits an enemy when this field is up, they'll get a boost of healing and the whole team will get a smaller boost of healing, meaning Luocha can heal off field without his ultimate, which is very strong. This means your team should be relatively high HP at all times. And this is also why people are pulling for Luocha and Blade, as Blade will sacrifice his own HP and get it back whenever he hits. So for people wanting to pull Blade, they have a great synergy, but this doesn't mean you need to pull Luocha, it just means it's nice to have him. So his skill will do a basic amount of healing, and all of his healing is attack based, meaning he will also do nice damage. On top of that, his skill will be automatically used and not consume a skill point when an ally drops below 50% of their HP. You can get heals in 2 ways completely for free. His ultimate has an AoE buff removal on top of a lot of damage. AoE buff removal is the first in the game, and buff removal is incredible in some fights. If you're fighting a group of Mara spawn, this buff removal will actually remove their rebirth buff, which means they won't revive. So if you're fighting the knight that spawns Mara spawn, Luocha's ultimate can be very, very strong. Now don't pull just to beat Mara spawn, but buff removal is an incredible thing to have in his kit. So if you need a healer, Luocha is an amazing pickup. Now for his 4 stars, we have Pella, Xingshui, and Yukong. Now Pella already came with the Zila banner, but if you can get first copy of her, she's an amazing offensive support and lessens the need for Silver Wolf, although Silver Wolf kind of does different things. Pella's Eidolons are very nice quality of life Eidolons, but you know, you don't really need them. I just think they're nice bonuses. E4 is a little weird because she reduces ice resistance only, which increases her own damage and any ice DPS damage, but you know, we can't really make mono teams just yet, and if they wanted to boost mono ice, then they should have put her on Silver Wolf's banner, but whatever. Xingshui is an awesome DPS and my favorite 4-star. E1 and E2 are whatever, but hey, E4 and E6, if you can manage to get up to them, are incredible. She turns into a true powerhouse and probably the best 4-star DPS. Now, getting to E6 and E4 is a lot, but it's very fun. E4 can basically double her basic attack damage, which is her core damage. And her E6 makes her very skill point efficient. She can already be very skill point neutral if you play her right, and this can turn it into a skill point positive DPS that will do a lot of damage. Since Luocha should be pretty skill point positive too, this is a great 4-star to have on his banner. Now Yukong, I don't think her Eidolons got revealed, so I can't talk about them, but she's a very nice support. The only problem is she's not as easy to use as Jing Yuan and Bronya. You'd have to build her around your team, and that can be annoying. Her buffs, if you can build her right, are broken. A lot of attack percent and crit rate and crit damage. The first crit rate buff in the game right now. You don't need to pull for her copy though, because you'll get a free copy in 1.2. So, you know, if you're going to pull for the 1 copy, just wait. I wouldn't risk it. So Luocha's 4 stars are not as crazy as Silver Wolf's 4 stars, but their Eidolons aren't anything bad. And from what I saw from Yukong's Eidolons, they're alright too. So I'd say Danheng, Asta, Serval, and Xingshui are probably the most valuable Eidolons to get. Danheng and Asta's early ones, and Serval and Xingshui's late ones. And of course, you know, pull for 4 stars if you want the 5-star too. Now, as I said before, the website preview for 1.1 revealed the light cone's abilities, so we can actually talk about them without going into leaks. So Silver Wolf's light cone is absolutely broken. Increases her effective hit rate by 24%, which is very nice and needed for her kit. Effective hit rate is very underrated right now, and people will finally start to see why it's so strong. So base 24% effective hit rate buff is already cool. Is it worth 75 pulls? No, but the rest is. When the wearer deals damage to an enemy with 3 or more debuffs, increases your crit rate by 12%. So you get a pretty free damage boost. Each bug should apply a different debuff, so this should proc very easily. On top of that, whenever you use a basic attack, skill, or ultimate, there is a 100% base chance to implant Aether Code on a random target that does not have it yet. And Aether Code makes targets receive 12% increased damage for 1 turn. This is a 12% vulnerability debuff for the enemy. On top of that, you don't even need to hit the enemy to proc this. Now, vulnerability debuff is an extra modifier to your damage. So this is absolutely insane to have on a light cone. The only sources of it right now, I believe, is Sampo's ultimate for dots, Welt's trace passive, and Himiko's technique. So you basically get Welt's trace passive in a light cone, and it's very easy to obtain. And this 100% base chance can be increased by the 24% effect hit rate from the light cone itself. So if you like Silverwolf and want an OP light cone for it, I would recommend pulling for this. It should be good on every Nihility as well. Support weapons are really strong in Genshin, and light cones are obviously just as strong for supports in Star Rail. Now, Luocha's one isn't as amazing, but it can be really nice too. Increases his attack by 24%. Since he's an attack percent scaling healer, this will increase his healing by a little bit. But on top of that, when he uses his ultimate, all allies on the field will gain 12 speed for 1 turn, which is a mini Aster ultimate. Having that in a light cone is incredible. And then it also gives him energy regeneration for each enemy he attacks. So his base attack will regenerate an extra 3 energy, and his ultimate will regenerate 9 energy if it hits 3 enemies. This can be multiplied by the energy rope or energy regeneration rate, so this could make his rotation much better, but I'll see when I do his guide. Then we have the 4-star light cone, which will be able to S5 for free in 1.1. So we see that it's 20% effect hit rate, but it will be doubled at S5, so we'll get a 40% effect hit rate buff. That already is very good for Nihility units. Eyes of the Prey has that as S5, but Eyes of the Prey is a gacha light cone, so it's not as easy to get. A free 40% effect hit rate is basically a relic main stat, so a nice start. And then when the wearer attacks enemies that have reduced defense, you will regenerate 8 energy, which also is multiplied by energy regeneration rate. So again, I'll look into this when I look at Silverwolf's rotation when doing her guide, but this could make her rotation much stronger. And it's basically a meshing cogs for Nihility, and meshing cogs is great by itself already. Reduced defense should be easy to get if you have a Pellet in your team or Silverwolf in your team. If you don't want to spend 75 pulls on the 5-star light cone, then this will be an amazing replacement for Silverwolf. And this can also be amazing on Pella. All 3 light cones are amazing. The 4-star is great to have on Pella and Silverwolf, and could be nice on other characters if you have def reduction in the team. Silverwolf's light cone is absolutely incredible, and Luocha's is a very nice boost. Luocha's light cone is pretty niche because of the attack buff, and because of the way he regenerates energy. So only he can really use it right now, but maybe future healers could use it just as well. If you have Luocha and you want his light cone, it's not a bad pull. But Silverwolf's is definitely more versatile. Let me know who you're going to pull, or what you think of the new characters and light cones. Thanks for watching, have a Guoba day.